I'm Tom Hess. I'm going to talk to you today about how to solve some common problems with arpeggios and specifically using arpeggios in your guitar solos and improvisations, etc. One of the things that you'll hear a lot with players, especially more inexperienced players, doing in their solos is just going sort of up and down and up and down from top to bottom, bottom to top, or whatever, that sort of a thing in arpeggios, in solos and songs. And that's totally cool. It's a great sound. But when you hear that used again and again in the same song or over a series of songs on an album or whatever, that tends to kind of get old. Even as cool as the technique is by itself, anything that you repeat a lot is just going to get stale. Okay? So one of the things I'm going to show you today is how to spice up a simple arpeggio like this A minor one, and just break up the arpeggio by putting little pieces of tremolo. That's when you take a single note and you repeat it 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 times, somewhere in the middle of that arpeggio. And we make different patterns out of it, and it sounds really cool because what it does is it breaks up the texture or the contour of the arpeggio, because you're stopping on a single note and then doing a tremolo and then continuing on the arpeggio or coming back down or doing whatever. All right, so that's a really cool benefit of doing everything I'm going to show you today. Another cool benefit is when you stop at any particular note in an arpeggio and do a tremolo, what that does is it confirms for your brain if everything in the arpeggio was clean. See, when the faster you play, the harder it is to hear how clean or precise your playing actually is, right? Because the notes are going by so fast as you increase your speed that it can be really difficult to hear it on the fly if everything's perfectly in sync, okay? So although really great players can hear if their playing is in sync, more often than not, they're not really using their ears, they're using the feel, right? So when you play something perfectly, every time, it feels a certain way. The two hands are in sync and you can feel it. You can feel it in your body that, oh, that was totally clean. The articulation was consistent. Everything was in time. Everything was good. Okay? It's a lot easier to memorize what it feels like when you do it correctly than to get your ear to process all of those notes in such a tiny, short period of time to determine if your playing was actually clean. All right, so before we get started, the first thing we're going to do is just very quickly review what the basic arpeggio is here. All right, for this video, you kind of really need to already know what this first arpeggio is in order to get the value out of this lesson in general. All right, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time teaching the arpeggio, but I'll just quickly go through it. Okay, so the one we're going to use here is A minor in root position, and it starts here on the 12th fret. Okay. Now, just real quick here, if you don't know, generally when I play this, I pick down on the first note, downstroke towards the floor, then I hammer on here on the 15th fret, then downstroke, so this is sweep picking now, downstroke on the 14th fret, then you roll the finger over to the 3rd string. You have to be careful here, you don't want this. You don't want those two notes to bleed together, okay, where you hear them at the same time. So you play the first note, the one on the D string, the first note that you use this finger for, like this, and the finger is arched, okay? Every knuckle is bent. It's arched, all right? Now, when you roll over, go from the D string to the G string, this first knuckle has to collapse, okay? It has to go like this. The first knuckle collapses. So it's not bent anymore. What that does is it takes the fingertip, which is on the D string, and it releases it. So it's no longer holding the D string down. It's still touching the D string, but it's not fretting the note anymore. Okay? When that D string gets released, that is what helps us to avoid this bleeding sound. So we don't want that. We don't want like a little bar chord. Okay? So we collapse this knuckle. You hear the D string go away, we don't hear it anymore. Okay, so now we're actually, instead of hitting the third string with the tip of the finger. When we collapse the knuckle, we're actually getting it on the pad of the finger here. Not here, but here. So the D string touches here, the G string touches here. All right, and the rest is real simple. So we got the middle finger on the 13th fret, second string. First finger on the high E string, 12th fret. And then the pinky finger on the 17th fret. Just come right back down. Now I generally do a pull off here. And then upstroke, 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 upstroke. And then we're back to where we started. All right? All right, so what I'm going to do now is play this for you slow, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do. We're going to basically insert a tremolo 3 times, or in 3 different places in the arpeggio pattern. Okay, so we're going to start up here on the high A, 17th fret of the high E string. That's a pull off there. Now we're going to come down like you normally would for this arpeggio. And we'll stop there on the high E note, okay? Now, from this point, we've already just played that note. We're now going to play it 3 more times. And we need to start that series of 3 extra notes with an upstroke. Up, down, up, okay? So, let me play it for you slow. 1, 2, 3, and then go back down. Let's just stop there at this point, okay? So this is a really important point, and I don't want it to get lost, so I'll repeat it. When you start the tremolo pattern, remember you've already played it once, okay? You played that note once already now. I just played it. Now we're going to start the tremolo with 3 more notes, starting with an upstroke. So every time that we apply the tremolo in this excerpt, we're going to start with an upstroke because the previous note was a downstroke on the same pitch. Okay, and this is also the point where the beat happens. If you're playing with the metronome, the beat is going to happen on the first of the 3 extra notes. Right there is where the beat happens. So for some of you, that may feel a little bit weird because you're normally used to accenting, especially you guys who do a lot of alternate picking or only alternate picking. It might feel quite odd at first in that the downbeat is happening on an upstroke versus a downstroke. Okay. Now, if you use directional picking like I do, this won't seem all that weird at all. But for alternate pickers, it may feel a little awkward at first, but you'll get it. Don't worry. Up, down, up. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to continue on the arpeggio, and this time we're going to stop at the B string or the C note. Okay, and we're going to do a tremolo there. We're going to add 5 notes to that pitch. Okay, so let me do the whole thing for you in context. Up, down, up. So that's the first one. Now that note that I just played, we're going to add 5 more notes. Again, starting with an upstroke, and it's starting on the beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now continue on down back to arpeggio. And let's stop there for now. Okay, and review that. Up, down, up. Up. I'm sorry. Up, down, up, down, up. Okay. So that's where we're at so far. Okay. Now we're going to just continue. We've got one more little piece to add here. So we've just came down to the low note, the low A. And we're going to go back up the arpeggio, and we're going to stop on the G string. Okay. So we've just played it now with the downstroke because we're using sweep picking, of course. And now we're going to add a 3-note tremolo here. So we're adding 3 more notes to the note that we've already played. So it's a total of 4 notes. But think of it in 3 because the downbeat happens right here. Up, down, up. Okay? So again, whole thing in context now. Okay, now the only little thing that we have to remember at the end is that when you come back up the arpeggio again at the very last thing that I just did, you have to hit that note, and then to repeat the whole pattern, to start the whole cycle over again, you have to hit that note again if you want to keep it in consistent time, okay? So I just hit it, and now to start over, I got to hit it again. Okay, it's a really cool thing. When you speed it up, like I was playing earlier, it sounds real cool. It sounds really aggressive. It's a lot of attack because those tremolos within the arpeggios, they get right in your face, right? And it's like squeezing somebody by the neck. I mean, it's real aggressive. Okay, so it's a very aggressive feel. And it will also help you to understand if you got to each of those notes that you stopped on perfectly in time, because and perfectly clean, because if you didn't, it will mess up the tremolo. You'll feel that the tremolo isn't right if the note you played just before wasn't clean. It will feel out of sync, and that's a very good indication for you to know how clean and how precise and how consistent the articulation of your playing really is. So it's great for training, and it's great for just simply applying arpeggios in a new way with a new contour, a new texture, and a new feel. And it just spices up your playing. And of course, all these concepts you can apply to any arpeggio, not just A minor, not just 5-string arpeggios, not just triads. You can do it anywhere, anytime. It sounds great, always. Real quick, one more thing. If you want to double your guitar speed while cutting your guitar practice time in half, there's only one thing that's going to do that for you. And I'm going to give it to you for free right now. Go to the link below. It's totally free. Doesn't cost you anything. Check it out. It's going to massively help you get better at guitar, increase your speed, while actually decreasing your practice time required to get there. It's awesome.